All right, everyone. The Democratic Party, according to polling, is at a 25-year low in popularity. It's down in the mid-30s somewhere. First, let me say, as with any other polling, take this with a grain of salt. It could be higher or lower than that. Like, if it skews in the same direction as 2016 election polling, that means they're probably somewhere in the mid-20s. Likewise, if it just skews everything so that it seems less popular, if it's an approval poll, they'd be more like in the low 40s somewhere. They'd be around where Trump probably is, with the skew in that polling too. Regardless, though, it means that the Democratic Party shouldn't exactly be sitting there being euphoric, as they are openly putting it at the moment. The big headlines of the day: Democrats sweep the, the elections. Of course, Virginia governor, New Jersey governor, first transgendered legislator, actually. But they shouldn't be too happy. There's a little bit of a more stark picture to actually be painted when you look at the results there. They're congratulating themselves for something that ultimately is relatively limited in its actual impact. For instance, building up an extra half a point in the final tally for the Virginia governorship as opposed to like Clinton versus Trump. That's not a particularly large incline. That's not exactly a game changer unless you're talking about, the voting results in Michigan maybe. Outside of that, I don't think that particular margin would have saved them anywhere, actually. Oh, that's right, in North Carolina. Okay. So you lose less, but it's by a smaller amount. Okay, point taken. They're basically right where they were. That is, that they managed to fend off being further weakened, and not much else. And Democratic lack of popularity is a big part of that. The problem is this. Here's the problem. The Republican Party's not popular. Trump is not a popular president. He's less unpopular than the polls say. I don't believe for a second that he's somewhere, approaching the 20s. I don't believe that. But he's not popular. It's certainly not above 50%. That would normally be great for the Democrats, except, see, their popularity is low too. So if they don't have a platform and they're not popular in some ideological sense, what the fuck are they supposed to do? They can't capitalize upon anything. Most people are still locked in the two-party dichotomy, which means that people who lean vaguely to the right or vaguely to the left are likely to fall in line. Everyone else is likely to jump to a third party or not vote. That's exactly what happened in the 2016 election. A lot of people jumped ship. They voted Libertarian and Green. More than 10% of those that voted ended up voting third party in most states. More than 10% of them just said, fuck it. A lot of people just ended up staying home. A lot of people who voted either for Trump or Clinton weren't voting for the candidate. They were voting against the other one that they considered more scary, that they considered more alarming. I'm technically on the margins of that voting populace as well myself. My vote for Trump is not an endorsement of every policy Trump has, but there's no way in hell that I was going to vote for Hillary Clinton. That was predetermined. It was impossible because she would be a terrifying president. You see a hashtag today, it was like, thank you Hillary or something. And they're like, oh, thank you for supporting women. Like she fucking ever supported women's rights. Like she's ever been a good person. Her popularity is lower than the rest of the Democratic Party. They may have trotted Donna Brazile out just to try to put a little bit of shine on the Democratic candidacies by saying, hey, there's some Democrats that are willing to call out scandal and corruption for what it is. And then they can have Tom Perez play bad cop, basically, and make it look as though there's some internal dialogue going on, so hopefully younger voters will stay Democratic. Well, they're not. They're fleeing the Democratic Party. It's like I keep seeing this poll that says large numbers of younger Americans want to do away with capitalism, which, by the way, we haven't had a free market in this country in 50 years, but okay, and embrace socialism. Okay, wonderful. The Democratic Party, though, isn't fiscally a socialist movement. You have a socialist bloc now because of Sanders, and it's going to keep rearing its head. It's going to keep growing until it strangles the Democratic Party and causes a schism. Now, the schism already happened in the Republican Party. The schism is this: the Trump populace, and this plays into the Virginia election too, by the way. Gillespie, you got to remember, was not the Trump candidate. They're trying to cast that off as Trump's problem. No, it's a problem with the neocons within the Republican Party. Trump endorsed a dude that was basically Swamp 101, oddly enough. That was the person that he backed. Had that person won, maybe the result would have been different. That's exactly what Trump's going to come out and say, probably. And the Democrats can't capitalize upon all this chaos because most of the chaos is theirs to have. It's not an issue of Trump causing chaos at this point. Trump caused his chaos. Now everything is loopy. And the Democrats refuse to learn from the last election. They think that if they go forth with no platform, with no popularity, therefore no gusto, no real reason for people to vote for them, they think that just a little token of optimism for having not lost the governor's seat in Virginia is going to buoy them up in the midterm elections. You're crazy if you think that it's a good idea to take that chance. Okay, let's say that you're right and you still don't take the House. You're still not going to have the Senate. What have you accomplished? You don't have any political power. Okay, you have the gap between you being losers and the other party actually doing what it wants is slightly less, but you're still at a loss to stop them. Meanwhile, Trump is going to sit there, come out of the midterms smelling like a rose, because then all the never-Trumpers will probably shut up when they end up winning. And the Democrats would try to cast that off as some sort of victory. It's just not. It's not. I don't think that the American voting base is going to be so forgiving. When you're that low in popularity as a party, look, that's down where the GOP is. Okay, so a third of Americans kind of like the Dems. A third of Americans kind of like the GOP. So that means that a third of Americans think you both suck. That's not a great place to be. And guess what? On a congressional basis, if you look at congressional approval, it's even lower. Isn't it in the teens at this point? It was hovering in the low 20s for years, and I think it finally broke down to another level. The lowest possible level it could be at. Yet these morons keep getting reelected. Good on the American people for reelecting people that they don't even like. It doesn't make that much sense, okay. And the Democrats think they can go forth with no platform, no clear leadership, with constant money problems as well at this point, and that somehow this is going to do them well. Oh yeah, maybe we can take back the House. No, I don't think you can. Maybe we can grab the Senate. I highly doubt it. You managed to prevent yourself from losing any further power. But you didn't really, I mean, in New Jersey, they're like, oh, well, we crushed it in New Jersey. New Jersey's a deep blue state. Chris Christie, the outgoing governor, was vastly unpopular. The person running happened to be his lieutenant governor. What the fuck do you think was going to happen? There was never any chance that the Republicans were going to be able to hold New Jersey. But it's a deep blue. It's one of the bluest states. It's like a smaller version of California or just basically New York City 2.0. That's what New Jersey is. Are you really that surprised about it? As far as Virginia, you didn't really incline. The voting total between Gillespie and Northam looks a lot like the voting total between Clinton and Trump in an election that the Democrats got totally hammered in. So if you're using Virginia as your bellwether, you're about to get your asses handed to you. You're probably going to lose more seats in the House and Senate. Wouldn't that make sense? If by some miracle you manage to retake the House or Senate, it's not going to mean much anyway. It'll just further decline congressional approval because it'll cause more gridlock. And Trump will suffer, the Republicans will suffer, the Democrats will suffer. Who benefits? People who are totally bitter and apolitical and say they all suck, and third parties. That's who will end up benefiting. And then hedge fund managers, because of course they benefit no matter what happens in D.C. because they'll take bribes or kickbacks from anybody. That's who benefits. The Democrats won't benefit. You know, the Democrats controlling the House and Senate, what a wonderful idea. Let's have them be the next John Boehner movement. Yeah, it'll work so well. Don't worry, people. If we just sit there and obstruct for 2 to 4 years, no harm can come of this. It won't reflect poorly on our party. You know, we still won't be putting forth any ideas because we don't have a leader. Bernie Sanders can't lead the Democratic Party and probably wouldn't want to. He's forming his own political movement on the side. He's like, yeah, the Democrats are closer to what I believe in, but they're still a light years away. I'm a socialist, he says. He's a democratic socialist, which means, you know, you vote the tyrant into power before they start killing people. They don't kill their way into power. They lie in wait like a viper instead of just, lashing out at you. It's basically what democratic socialism is. The Democrats have problems. They have a socialist problem. that the youth likes, which means the Democrats can't capitalize upon the youth surge that got Obama into power. Well, you're kind of lost without that. They can't count on demographics anymore. It's quite clear the Rust Belt is moving towards being more red at this point. This might be a long-term swing in Rust Belt politics. They can't fucking win the next election if that doesn't reverse course, which means either Trump needs to be way less popular than he is right now in the erosion of his core fan base, or they have to have a really good candidate and really good fundraising apparatus and really good everything else to overcome that gap. The Southwest alone doesn't make up for that total. What happens if Virginia moves towards being red too? Well, then the Democrats have already lost 2020. It wouldn't even matter what happened in the midterms. These are things they have to keep in mind. Their victory celebrations that they're doing right now are way, way premature. I don't see good things for them in the midterms. However, as I said before, if they do get crushed in the midterms, it's possibly better for them in 2020 because they might have their schism. Some young liberal upstart within the party, either a business Democrat or someone further left than the average Democrat, Republicrat, same thing, will take command and maybe win. Somebody who can be, who would bring the youth back aboard, maybe the business Democrats, who might not be so scary to the growing populist movement, who might embrace some of its tenets. Well, then the Democratic Party's saved. If they manage to do well in the midterms, it might make them too complacent, which means that the next candidate will be another dynastic neoliberal who will get completely stomped by Donald Trump. That's about all. Peace out.